Talofa, hello, bonjour, kia ora, afiomai. Hi, everyone. Hi to Daryl and Aparna and Kanan and Charles and Diana. Hi, Geraldine and Joby and John and Carrie. Hi, Kelly and Latanya and Metal and Micah. Hi, Nia and Paul, Reagan, Samantha, Samit, and Scott. Hi, Shahid and Shika, Tyler, and Tite. And hi to all of our panelists. Welcome to the OUM community and the OUM admissions information webinar. I'm Associate Professor Nicolette McGuire. I'm our Associate Dean for Student Engagement, and I'll be hosting our session today. Also, hi to anyone joining us via recording as well. So what are we going to talk about today? Here's our agenda. We're going to do some introductions of the panelists that you can see here today with you and give a really brief overview of OUM. Then I'm going to pass the floor over to my colleague, Ms. Shanda Gordon, to give an overview of the admission requirements, the admissions process, and interviews. And then she'll pass it back to me to talk about OUM's curriculum.
Nicolette, sorry.
Yes, go ahead, Shanda.
Your video is not on. Is it supposed to be on?
Hi.
There you go.
Thanks, Shanda.
No worries.
Okay, so she'll pass it back to me to talk about the OUM curriculum, and then we'll hear from our student ambassadors who joined us today, and if there's time, we'll have some Q&A and next steps. If you have questions throughout the session, please feel free to use our Q&A window, and we'll take them live for you. So let's do some introductions and an OUM overview first. Shanda, I'll pass it over to you first for your introduction.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Shanda Gordon, and I am one of the admissions counselors here at OUM. And I know you've seen some of the names already, and it's good to see you here. And I'm here to help with any questions you might have. Thanks.
Thanks, Shanda. Mary, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm Mary Gizzy. I work with applicants from all our regions, and it's nice to see you here this evening or this morning.
Thanks, Mary. Beck, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Beck. I'm in my preclinicals. Yeah.
Thanks. Caroline.
Hi, everybody. My name is Caroline. I'm a final year OUM student, so I'm in my final clinical stages. I've been with OUM for 4 years, so I'm one of the student ambassadors. So yeah, I'm happy to be here and welcome to everybody. I'm based in Victoria and South Australia.
Thanks, Caroline. Moretta.
Talofa everyone, I'm Marita and I'm based in Samoa. I work full-time in student affairs and administration where we manage your clinical rotation placements at our national hospital, but I'm also a part of the admissions team, which is something that I'm quite happy with because being with the admissions team means for me that I get to meet all of you at the very beginning of your baby steps into your medical journey with OUM. And then in my role as a student affairs, I also get to meet you near the finish line. And that's where I get to hear stories of, what the journey has been like for you here at OUM. So, and we're looking forward to having you, Caroline, in September. So thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Moretta. Karupi, would you like to introduce yourself?
Talofa and hello everyone. My name is Karupi Oande. I'm a clinical student and I'm the Samoan ambassador for outside.
Thanks, Karupi. And Dada, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me okay?
We can, please go ahead.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm Dada. Actually, I'm Dada Pouncey. I'm a preclinical medical student here in the US, and I'm in my second year here in the USMLE track. So welcome, and I look forward to speaking to you tonight. Thanks.
Thanks, Dada. I think I've got everybody. Any panelists that I skip over? Okay, I think we're good. So as I said, I'm Associate Professor Nicolette McGuire, or just Dr. M, and I'm based outside Toronto, Canada. And I have been with OUM for about 12 years now, and I'm so pleased to be in the role of Associate Dean for Student Engagement so that I get to support students across their journey from being prospective students to their first days at the university, all the way through to the end of their preclinicals as they get into their clinical transition units, into the clinicals, and I even get to be there sometimes for graduations, which we have a graduation coming up this weekend for some of our students. So I really love having that position, and I'm so happy to be able to meet some of you today here at our webinar. So OUM is a medical school, so hopefully you're all interested in becoming medical students, and that's why you are here today. We are based in the beautiful South Pacific Island country of Samoa, and we've been blending online preclinical study and hands-on clinical education for over 20 years, serving students in Samoa as well as in Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and the US. So you'll hear some information for students across those 5 jurisdictions to help you support your decision today. So that's a little bit about us and an overview of our university. I'm going to pass the floor over to Ms. Shanda Gordon to provide some information about our admissions requirements. Shanda, you're muted, but we can see you well.
Sorry, forgot to take that off. Thank you, Associate Professor McGuire. So today I'm just going to be talking about the entry requirements and the application process. So the minimum entry requirements to be considered for entry into OUM are you need to have completed at least a bachelor's degree with a GPA of 3 on the 4-point scale or 5.5 on the 7-point scale or its equivalent. If your institution has used a different grading system or your GPA is slightly below the requirement, please contact the admissions office to discuss your case. And although this isn't a requirement, completing some science subjects such as biology, biochemistry, anatomy and physiology, etc., will help to strengthen your application. We also require English language proficiency. So if English is your second language, but you have studied at an English-speaking institution, you should meet the requirements. But if you're unsure, you can contact your admissions counselor or the admissions office, and we can advise if you meet the requirements or if you need to sit an IELTS or TOEFL exam. At OUM, we don't require any GAMSAT or MCAT scores for entry. And it is important to note that we only accept prospective applicants who are citizens of or permanent residents of the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and Samoa, and that includes American Samoa. So if you're not a resident of one of those countries, we can't accept your application at this time. Next slide, please. So it's important that you get all of your questions answered, and I encourage you to make contact with the admissions office. The admissions team are here to help you with any questions you may have, big or small. You can call us directly, you can make an appointment, or you can email us, and we will help to answer all of your questions. The OUM program is unique with our online curriculum and fee structure, among other things. So it's really important that you get all of your questions answered so that you can be fully prepared. Two of the biggest challenges our students face is understanding the workload and financial commitment. The MD program is a full-time program and it takes a huge time commitment. So we need to make sure that you and your loved ones understand that commitment. And also, what is this program going to cost and can you afford it? As we are a Samoan institution, our students are generally not eligible for government loans. So you may have to pay for this program out of pocket. Are you going to be able to do that? And how are you going to be able to do that? So once you have all of your questions answered and you think you meet the requirements and you have your head around the time and financial commitments, we encourage you to apply online. To start your application, you can go to our website and click on the Apply Now button in the top right-hand corner. We have 2 intakes, January and July, the next one being January. The closing date for January is the 1st of September, and for July, it's the 1st of March. So there is still time to apply for January 2025 if you want to. For your application, we require certified or official transcripts and awards. For your transcripts, we require all previous tertiary studies. So just make sure you remember to include all of those. And in the online application, you'll see there's instructions on how we want those transcripts to be sent to us because every region is different. We also require 3 letters of recommendation, and one of those has to be from a medical doctor / physician. And we collect these letters on your behalf. You enter your reference details into your application, and once you pay the application fee, we will contact them directly to ask for your letters of recommendation. And the email will also explain what we require in those letters. And then your references will be able to upload those letters directly to your application. And you can also check who has sent them in when you log into your application online. And then we also require a personal essay. And this is your chance to tell your story, explain why you want to be a doctor and why you want to study medicine at OUM. There is no set word count or format. I get that question all the time. So just write from the heart. We also require a CV or resume. And once you have completed all of those requirements, you then need to submit your application by the deadline to be considered for the intake. If you don't submit your application by the deadline, you will not be considered for that intake. So it's really important. We send a lot of reminders, so please keep on top of your application progress and allow time to complete your application so that you can submit it on the deadline or before the deadline. If your application is successful, you are eligible for an interview, you will have an interview with an admissions counsellor first to discuss your application, why you want to be a doctor, why you want to study at OUM, and to confirm your understanding of the program and to make sure we're all on the same page about the tuition, fees, rotations, and the time commitment required. If that interview goes well, you will then have an interview with the admissions panel. And one of the great things about our interview process is that you will find out if you are successful generally within 48 hours after the panel interview. Unlike other medical schools, you don't have to wait for the entire cohort to be interviewed before you find out. If you are accepted into the program, the admissions team will work with you to get all of your post-acceptance documents in and your intake fee into us by the deadline, which for January will be the 1st of December, and for July, it is the 1st of June. So that was a lot of talking. That's pretty much all from me. Again, if you have any questions, please contact the admissions office. Our email is there for you to write down. We're a friendly bunch and we're here to help, but Moretta, Mary, and I will be here at the end of the session if you have any questions.
Thank you, Shanda. I do see a couple of questions in the Q&A, so I'll just read those out for the benefit of anyone joining us via recording or anyone who's here and doesn't have access to our Q&A window. So the first one is, hi, this is Aparna. Hi, Aparna. Good morning. How are you? We are well. We hope you're well also. I can see you and hear you all. Just wanted to know if this is an interactive session where we can ask questions. Thank you. So absolutely, Aparna, you can ask questions, and anybody who's here live, you're welcome to use the Q&A box to type in your questions, and we'll answer as many as we can live through the session. Shanda, this one's for you. It's from Mesh, and they would like to know, please, are you going to share this slide or the slide deck with us?
We can share these two or any, I guess, but also this will be recorded, or it is recorded, and it will be on our website as well and on our YouTube channel. So
thanks, Shanda. All right, so if you do have questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A box and a recording will be available later. All right, we'll move on to our next slide and give Shanda's throat a rest from all that chatting. Okay, so I'm going to speak with you a little bit about OUM's curriculum. You may have done some research on this already and seen that OUM has a preclinical phase, the transition phase, and a clinical phase. And I'm going to give you the insider view since you're here at the webinar, the information that you might not glean from the website. So the preclinical phase consists of 2 main parts. The first is an introductory course called General Principles, which is really a course that helps you get back in the swing of learning biology and chemistry and biochemistry and physiology and anatomy to help prepare you for your organ system courses. So General Principles runs for 8 weeks, and you must pass General Principles to move on to the organ systems. So there are 9, Moretta, you're going to correct me if I'm wrong, there's 9 organ systems. Let's see if I can name them all in order. So the first one is cardiovascular system, followed by pulmonary, urinary, endocrine, neuro, heme-immune, reproductive, gastrointestinal system, and musculoskeletal system. So those are the courses in your preclinical phase. It's 2 to 2.5 years. So that will really give you an overview of each of those systems. And not only are you learning things like anatomy and physiology and pathophysiology and etiology of disease and treatment and diagnosis and management, we also have clinical skills as part of each of those as well. So during the preclinical phase, the way that you learn that information is that each week you'll have a set of topic recorded lectures that are available to you kind of just before the end of that week. And you have generally between 7 and 10, about 20 to 30-minute lectures to go through on your own time before class starts the following week. So we have, in addition to those recorded topic lectures, we then have 3 live classes and 1 office hour to help you integrate and connect and dive into that information in a little bit of detail. So the first class of the week is called Workshop. And so you got a chance to be asked questions and pull information from your text and from your textbooks and from your topic recorded lectures, and to share images and things with your fellow students in a session that's facilitated by one of our preclinical faculty, and really help you dig into that information. And part of the workshop, there are also clinical skills that go along with that. So for example, reading ECGs, or learning the different fetal presentations and fetal positions and fetal lies that you'll encounter during your obs and gynae rotations. So that is your workshop course. The second one is case discussion. So that happens, the first class is on Tuesdays, the second class, case discussions, is on Wednesdays. And in the case discussion, you get 2 clinical cases that are based on clinical conditions that are relevant to the topic at hand that week. So for example, today I was writing the case studies for gestational diabetes and gestational hypertension, which are cases that are in the first week of reproduction. Wink, wink, those of you in med-sci classes. Okay, so that's your case discussions. The third one is a problem-based learning. So problem-based learning is a 2-week session where you really get to dive into detail on one particular condition and really get all of the details on that condition, how you would assess that clinically, the research around new treatments for that condition, understanding how that condition might be treated differently depending on whether you happen to be in Samoa or Australia or New Zealand or Canada or the US. You really have that benefit since you're going to be in classroom with students in all of those areas. And really get to dive into a little bit more detail, starting to think like a physician. And then at the end of the week, or sometimes at the beginning of the week, there's office hours that are offered by the course director or by the faculty in that course. And then there are practice exams to help you kind of solidify some of that knowledge. Each of the preclinical classes has a pretty similar structure, and they'll all have things like a multiple choice question exam, a midterm exam, oral assessments, final exams that are peppered throughout the course for your education pleasure. So that's our preclinical phase. After the preclinical phase is the transition phase. So the transition phase is different depending on whether you happen to be a student who is residing in Canada and the US, or if you are a student that is in Australia, New Zealand, and Samoa. So for those of you in North America, i.e. Canada or the US, you will prepare for and take your USMLE or US Medical licensure exam, step 1, during the transition phase. The university has a preparatory program and practice exams that you have access to before you take and pass your USMLE. If you are in Australia, Samoa, or New Zealand, you have the option also to prepare and take the USMLE step 1 if you are interested in perhaps having the opportunity to practice in the US in the future. You're welcome to take that as well. If you opt not to take that, you instead take what we call our preclinical exam, which is an exam that tests you on all of those 9 organ systems that I just discussed. Also in the transition phase, you have coursework that includes things like medical ethics, public health, communicable and non-communicable diseases, and so on. And there is, during the transition phase course, a clinical skills course, which is an in-person clinical skills workshop. So sometimes we have the question, do I have to go, if I'm living in Canada, do I have to go to Samoa for the in-person workshop? Or if I'm living in Australia, do I have to go to North America for the in-person workshop? No, you do not need to go. We try to make those as close to country as possible. So there is a clinical skills course in-person component in North America, and there is a clinical skills course in-person component in Australia as well. After you get through the transition phase, which in my opinion is a really fun phase, really about preparing you for the clinical phase, is when you get to many people's favorite part of the degree, which is the clinical phase. So this is where you're going to do your clinical rotations. So during clinical rotations, you'll actually be in hospital learning with a clinical supervisor the different specialties. So you'll have community and family medicine, you'll have psychiatry. Moretta's going to get me if I don't get these all. You'll have OBGYN. You will have, no, I'm not going to get them all today, Moretta. You'll have to catch me on that one. Caroline will tell us all what all the clinical rotations are. So there are a set of core rotations, and then you also have an opportunity for electives. You also have one rotation in your clinical phase that you will take in Samoa, which is an amazing opportunity to learn hands-on clinical skills within Samoa. And all of our students report, and maybe some of our student ambassadors can tell you today, that their clinical experience and their rotations in Samoa are absolutely invaluable. They learn skills and they get opportunities as a medical student that they would not otherwise have if they were just doing rotations in their home countries. At the end of the clinical phase, at the end of your core rotations, if you are in North America, you take your US medical licensure exam step 2. And then you take your elective rotations. If you are in Australia, New Zealand, or Samoa, you don't need to take the USMLE Step 2, but the prep course is offered to you, and you are welcome to take that exam, and your education will have prepared you to take that if you so choose to do so. And then at the end of our clinical phase, we have what we call our FCE, our final clinical exam, and our OSCE, which is the objective structured clinical exam, which is an in-person examination of your clinical knowledge and skills. And if you are in Canada, you'll take the NAC, the National Assessment and Collaboration Exam, as your OSCE. And there's a few more details that are country specific as well for the clinical phase. All right, so that's our curriculum in a nutshell. I do see we have some questions in the Q&A, so I'm just going to look at that before I move on to our next slide. So Nia says, hi panel, do I need to fill and submit just the application by the 1st of September or all other documents as well by 1st of September? Shanda, would you like to take that one?
Sure. So yes, you need to complete all of the documents before the September 1st deadline. You need to have a complete application. So not just the application online, but all of your reference letters, all of your transcripts, your essay, CV, everything needs to be on your application before you can hit submit, and you have to submit it before the 1st of September.
Thanks, Shanda. Okay, Anonymous says, regarding the financial component, what is the cost per unit? Are there any scholarships available, and do you need to pay upfront prior to each unit? And Shanda, I saw you were typing an answer, so maybe you'd like to take this one to start.
Yeah, I was just going to refer you to our tuition and fees page on our website, just because it's got more country specific information there. So you can actually look at the individual units for the country that you're in. And we don't actually offer any scholarships. We offer scholarships to eligible Samoan citizens. So, but outside of that, there's no other scholarships available. And there was one other question, I think. And also in the tuition and fees page, there is information on the payment options that we offer. So there's 3 different options. And I'll just also mention that we also have a financial information session coming up, I think maybe in August. So that might be another one to watch out for.
Shanda. And last one for now, is there a part-time option for the workload? And Shanda and I can both answer this, but maybe I'll let Shanda answer first.
Yeah, no, there is no option to do part-time option to part-time workload. It is a full-time program.
We do have students who will start the program and can add outside work back in once they've started and get a sense of the workload. It's not something that we recommend. We do have students that do that, and perhaps our student ambassadors can speak a little bit more about that as well. All right, so before we end off on our OUM curriculum, one additional final piece I want to mention is our research component, which is spread across the preclinical, transition, and clinical phase. So not only will you graduate with an MD degree from OUM, you will also be a published author, because all of our students complete a research project and publish it before they complete their MD degree. And we do have some further information about the research component on our website. But what I would say today is that we often get the question, do I need to have a background in research? Do I need to be a researcher in order to complete the research requirement for the MD degree? Absolutely not. We have many students who have never done research before. We have some students who have a really strong background in research and have done their PhD even prior to, or their master's degree prior to entering. So we do have a spectrum of students of research experience. All students are supported by our director and associate director for research, and all students who are completing their research project are assigned a research advisor to support them through the defined process for conducting research. So we don't just say, yeah, you've got to do some research, like you figure out how to get it published. We support you through each step of the process of doing research and publishing that work. All right, so that's our curriculum in a nutshell. I've been asked in the past about what a sample day looks like, or what a week looks like in the life of an OUM student. So we put together this sample daily plan and sample weekly plan to give you an idea of kind of the amount of time and commitment that it takes, and also to give you another kind of nudge to what Ms. Gordon was saying, that it's really important that when you're considering undertaking an MD degree, that you have the support from your family members and other individuals that support you in your life, because it is a very demanding degree. It will take up a lot of time, and you have to be prepared for that. So here's an example of a sample daily plan in the life of an OUM medical student. So they would sleep for 8 hours. They might wake up and have breakfast, maybe have coffee on their own and read the newspaper, maybe have a chat with family and friends, and just get their day started right. It's also important that you are a whole person coming into medical school. You are a whole person as a medical student, and you are a whole person coming out of medical school. So your physical and mental and spiritual life is really important to you prior to entering medical school. You need to make sure that that's important to you during medical school as well, and you're making sufficient time for that. So plan that as part of your day. Being in medical school is a full-time plus job, so plan to study about 8 hours every day. So I mentioned, for example, in the preclinical period that you are interacting with recorded topic lectures, you are reading assigned textbooks in our library, Clinical Key, that you get access to when you are students, so you don't need to buy any additional textbooks. You're in study groups with other students, you're attending class, you're going through the materials that you've learned in class, and synthesizing that information takes a long period of time. So plan to study about 8 hours every day. Then maybe in the afternoon, you take 3 hours to continue to nurture your relationships with family and friends, activities that you enjoy, making sure, again, that you're a whole person in medical school. Many students plan to go to our evening classes. Classes are from 8 to 10 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday in the preclinical period. Classes are also at 8 to 10 p.m. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, North American Eastern Time. So we have 2 sets of classes per day. So you can actually choose, do I want to go to class in the morning? Do I want to go to class in the evening, depending on where I happen to be in the world? But there are 2 classes every day. Do I need to attend both classes every day? Dr. McGuire, no, you do not. You attend one. So that's why I've put here to attend the 1 evening class. So after you've had your study for your full day and spent time with family and friends, then you're going to class. And on days where you don't have class, you're doing planning for your study or extra study for exams, or going to your study groups for about 2 hours in the evening, and then having maybe about an hour for self-time and winding down before sleeping and doing the same thing over again the next day. So that's a little bit what it looks like for a sample daily plan. Now, if you're someone who is intending to add work back in after you've gone through general principles and your other courses and you're feeling confident that you have sufficient amounts of time, you might think of a modified sample daily plan that you can see kind of in the middle here, where you are working for, maybe one day on the weekend and then just studying for 4 days on that particular day. It is possible. It's not something that we recommend, but I just thought it's helpful for you to kind of see how that's mapped out. Okay, so that's sort of what it looks like in a sample daily and weekly plan, being a student in the preclinical program at OUM. Okay, a couple questions in the chat window. One is from Joby, who says, hi, Associate Professor McGuire. What time AEST are these classes? Usually, are they outside of work hours, 9 to 5 p.m.? So the preclinical classes, so your general principles or your cardiovascular system or pulmonary system, the classes on Australian Eastern Standard Time are 8 to 10 p.m., Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. They are also, the second option is 8 to 10 p.m. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, North American Eastern Time. So if you are in North America, that means you have an option of going to the AEST, the Australian Eastern Standard Time class around 5 or 6 a.m. for you, or going to class at 8 to 10 p.m. And if you are on Australian Eastern Standard Time, that means you have the option, for example, of going to class from 10 to 12 in the morning or 8 to 10 in the evening. So as kind of gets a little murky if you're not used to figuring out all the time zones. Those of us who have been in the OUM community for a while, and many of the students in the MedSci program sort of get used to this language of all the different time zones and keeping track of that. But just think about you're planning to go to class in the evening about 8 to 10 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, or 8 to 10 p.m. North American Eastern Time. Okay, so that's it. That's a bit for our weekly plan. Aparna would like to know, how many hours of classes per week does the curriculum offer during the preclinical phase? So the live classes, you have these 3 live classes plus additional 2 hours of office hours each week. And then you also have recorded topic lectures, generally between 7 and 10 recorded topic lectures that are about 20 to 30 minutes in length. All right, and then Geraldine wants to know, so if I start preclinical phase in January, when do the clinical rotations start? So I'm gonna pass this over to Shanda because she's gonna say, it depends on where you happen to be in the world. Shanda, what would you advise Diana?
Yep. So if you're in the standard pathway, you have 2 years of online study plus the transition period, which is 6 months, and then you start your your clinicals. But if you're doing the USMLE, you've got an extra 6 months on there. So you've got the 2 years of preclinical, 6 months of USMLE prep, 6 months of the transition period, and then you start your clinical rotations.
Thanks, Shanda.
I don't know exact dates though.
That's okay. That's good. It's good for planning. Diana also wants to know, are only night classes available for North American students? So North American students, you have the option of attending the 8 to 10 p.m. North America class time, or you can attend the Australian Eastern Standard class time, which ends up being early in the morning for you. So you can choose. You don't need to attend both. All right, that's a little bit of our sample daily plan and our weekly plan. I want to get to my favorite part of these sessions, which is talking with our student ambassadors who you got to meet earlier on in the session. So we have Beck and Caroline and Dada and Karupi here with us today. So our student ambassadors, this is a joint program with our OUM Student Association, the OUM SA, and they are available to you to help support your decision making. So they're able to to highlight some of the aspects of being a student at OUM that are important to them that you might want to consider. They can provide some information to you about what the program looks like for them as a student at their level and in their career. And they really are just available to give you an honest look and honest assessment of what it's like being a medical student before you have to dive in on your own. So I want to ask the student ambassadors a specific question today, and you're also welcome if you have questions for the student ambassadors to put them in the chat window. But the question that I want to ask our student ambassadors today is, what kinds of things did they consider before they started medical school? And why did they ultimately choose OUM for their medical student journey? So I'm going to start with Caroline. And Caroline, would you like to start by telling us some of the things that you considered before starting medical school, and why did you choose OUM?
Hi, yeah, thank you, Dr. M. Some of the things I considered, I suppose, do you mean in terms of if I don't do OUM, what else do I do? Or if I don't do medicine, what do I do? In that regard, I was pretty clear that I wanted to do medicine, building on previous professional experiences in science and nursing. So I'd kind of whittled it down to medicine, which is fairly broad. Within medicine, there's lots of specialties. What was really great about OUM for me was the international flavor of the university that really attracted me to join this kind of global health view, which I think we've touched on a little bit earlier in this session. Being from Europe and being in Australia and having traveled a lot, OUM was really encouraging in that sense and being interested in world health. So that really appealed to me. And the, I guess the graduate entry type platform whereby I felt like I was going to meet like-minded people, and I have, because of the admissions criteria. It draws together people from across the world who've already done a few things. And it might sound a bit cheesy, but I was really impressed by the mission statement of OUM, you know, to serve in underserved communities with that kind of international flavor. And the online component was really practical for me because I was living in a remote, kind of rural, not so remote, but I wasn't in a metropolitan big city area, and the online preclinical syllabus allowed me to stay at home and work locally and study and get myself organized to be in really good shape for the preclinicals. And the preclinicals are such an important foundation for the clinicals that you have to make sure that you set yourself up for success for the preclinicals. And this online learning platform where you can stay at home with people who support you and you're in an environment that's already positive, and you add the layer of the preclinical OUM syllabus and for me, that really worked. So, and now I'm in clinicals, I'm kind of leaning on the fact that that was good, and springboarding into the clinicals. Now I'm kind of out and about in other cities and regions in Australia for the clinical training. It's been a good trajectory and very supportive along the way. So yes, does that kind of cover it? Is that the kind of thing you're looking for?
Caroline, I was just going to say, if people want to learn a little bit more about Caroline's journey, there's a feature on her and her work in the Royal Flying Doctors
Yeah.
in our newsletter now, or if you follow us on social media, you can read a little bit more about Caroline's story. Thank you so much, Caroline. Donna, would you like to go next? Can you tell us a little bit about some of the things that you considered before starting medical school, and tell us why you chose OUM?
Sure. Can you hear me okay, Dr. McGuire? All right, thank you. So for me, it's kind of been pretty much almost a 20-year journey for me, I should say that, because I come from a healthcare background. I've been a nurse practitioner for almost 20 years now. And so coming into this, I was already had, practice. I was already seeing patients, and of course I had a life, I had a family. And for me, it was more or less it was convenience, because I already had a lot of hats to wear. And so I'm thinking, how can I go, drive to a local medical school, every day and sit in class? So just kind of this would make me gravitate more towards OUM, because I'm like, okay, well, I can attend class in the evening after I finish my day-to-day normal activities. And then at my own convenience, I can study what I need to study. So that was like one of the key factors for me. But also, I don't know if Dr. McGuire is aware of this, but I'm actually a returning student of OUM. Many years ago, I was at OUM, and I wasn't able to continue because I actually became ill. And back then, it was kind of still in the process of growing OUM. And as I started to research it again, I noticed that there were a lot of progression and changes, really in a positive way. And so I was like, okay, this is really something I think I can come back to. And already knew, coming in, they were really focused on a lot of healthcare providers that were already out practicing. And that's what I liked about it. I think Caroline mentioned about the mission statement that's in there as well, that they really want to make, those people that, like myself, that already had this idea of becoming a physician at some point in time. It provides the opportunity for me. The other thing I believe that I really liked about it is just knowing before, as a previous OUM student, that the professors, the staff, that they really do cater to you. You have kind of more of a hands-on approach as opposed to going to a larger university. So that was important for me, because I just like that hands-on experience and being able to have maybe the smaller classrooms and participate with other students across the world. That was really intriguing for me. So it was it just made more sense for me overall, and just being able to, I know we're probably getting more to about like being able to afford, the tuition and things like that. It made more sense for me in that aspect. And if you have more questions back there, I'd be more, happy to answer. It just made more sense for me to be able to make that happen throughout the process of the program. And they do set up a good, program as far as finances and how it's more manageable. So that's kind of just a brief synopsis of why I decided to choose OUM. Okay.
And we're so glad you're back. Thanks for sharing that, Donna. I really appreciate it.
I'm glad to be back. Sure.
Karupi, would you like to go next? Would you like to tell us a little bit about the things you considered before starting medical school and why you chose OUM? Karupi, you may still be muted. I'll just see if I can fix that from my end. Okay, we still cannot hear you. I'm gonna go to Beck and ask her to share her experiences, and then we'll see if we can work out the mic behind the scenes, and then we'll come right back to you, Krupi. So Beck, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. Hey, everyone. So I had a bit of I would say a very long journey leading up to joining OUM. And I think the biggest component of that was I'm a solo parent. And when I started OUM, I had my son was just starting prep. So first year of school, and my son has additional needs. So it was me trying to juggle the timing of when I could have some more me time and sort of put him into school. And so I think my parenting responsibilities were one of the biggest things that I needed to consider. And I think I needed for it to feel right for me at the time. It's tricky because you need to deal with the guilt as well, I think, sometimes with being a parent of like, I'm going to have some time for me, or how am I going to juggle this? So I spent a fair bit of time just trying to figure out realistically if I had support in place, and if I felt like I could cope with that. And so I spent a fair bit of time figuring that out. And then I think in the end, my decision to go with OUM was very much led by the flexibility of the online learning. So it was really important for me to be able to collect my son, you know, at 3 o'clock, which is the middle of the day for some people, and spend a little bit of time with him, and then go back and work at unusual hours in the night because, you know, that's sort of what works for me. And so I needed to find a place where I could learn with that sort of flexibility. And the other really big thing was I didn't know where I was going to be living in 2 years' time. And so I really needed the flexibility that comes with OUM of being able to midway through my studies potentially pick up and relocate to another state. So I could not find that anywhere else. And OUM really, it's not an issue at all. There are some days where I will spend the first chunk of my day being a mum and the later half into the night going, you know, over my study stuff. And it's amazing because that works for me, and I can shift it and change it around based on, you know, what my family needs at the time. So that's a really awesome thing that you can sort of gain from the online aspect. So yeah, that's me. And it's been really good, really, really good so far.
Thanks, Beck. Really appreciate that. And I think Hugh is really proud of you and everything that you're doing so far. So I'm glad that it's working for you. Krupi, let's try again. Let's see if we can get your audio working. We'd love to hear from you. All right, we're still not able to get you, Krupi. So what I'm going to say is just keep trying. And if we like just suddenly hear you, then just interrupt us, and we'll just stop wherever we're at, and you can share. It would be great to hear from you. And if you still are not able to get it on, if you want to share anything in the webinar chat and I'll read it out, that would be fine too. All right. If you have any questions for our student ambassadors, feel free to type them in the Q&A and we'll answer them if we can before the end of the session. At OUM, we also have a set of peer supporters that provide support for mental health and well-being in a way that only other medical students might understand, because they are medical students themselves, that really are there to support you through the ups and downs of being a medical student. You are a person in the world and things happen. And we have peer supporters that are there to provide assistance to you in the preclinical phase and as you're going through transition and phases and in the clinical phase as well. And our peer supporters are supported by myself, and we have 2 graduate mental health ambassadors. They're both graduates, Dr. Brownie Tuiasosopo and Dr. Junaid Minas, who is graduating this weekend, as well as Dr. Andrew Lee Levick and myself. So if you have questions about that or want to know a little bit more about our peer support service or any of the other support services that we have at OUM, like our student success advisors, our research advisors, the OUMSA, the student ambassadors, we really are focused on providing supports to you as an individual and you as a student at OUM. So feel free to reach out to us if you want some more information about that program. All right, we've reached our Q&A period. So if you have questions that were not answered already throughout the session, now is the time to place them in the Q&A window. I'm going to go back up to the top of our Q&A window and start from there in our Q&A to see any questions that have not yet been answered. All right, so the first one is, do you also have preparations for the AMC exam for Australia? So the AMC exam is the Australian Medical Council exam that our OUM students take for before they begin their internships and placements in Australia. We currently have prep programs for our OSCEs, the Objective Structured Clinical Exams, and for the USMLE, STEPS, and NAC, the National Assessment Collaboration. And our Dean for Australia is currently working on exam prep for the AMC as well. So we don't have that program yet. I would expect by the time those of you who are prospective students are ready to take the AMCs, that we'll have preparation in place to support you as well. All right, Anonymous wants to know, regarding the research methodology and published research project, do we need to complete this if we have already completed an honors or PhD? So Shanda, you can correct me about this if I'm wrong, but all students do need to have a research project and have a research publication as a result of that while they are here at OUM. So if you have a prior publication, there's not a kind of test out of that requirement. You still are required to complete a research project and have a publication. Some of our students even have more than one research publication as part of their work as well. Shanda, do you want to correct me on that, or have I got that all right?
That's the information I have as well.
Okay, good. Okay, Shika would like to know, hi panel, will there be online lectures as well in the learning process? I'm gonna ask Beck actually if she wants to talk a little bit about her experience going to recorded lectures and live classes to give a little bit more information to Shika's question. Beck, would you mind speaking a little bit about your experience going to recorded lectures and live classes?
Hi, yeah, sure. Sorry, I'm just thinking about what I want to share. So I'm just going to say broadly that I've been to a lot of different universities, and OUM is by far the most inclusive university that I've ever been to. So there's space for all sorts of learning styles. The online lectures are great in that we attend them. So we have recorded lectures that we can watch, and so we go through those whenever. And then we have classes separate to that where we go over the kind of key components of those lectures, if that makes sense. And those are interactive. So is that sort of what you mean, Dr. McGuire? So in those, we tend to chat amongst ourselves about anything we're struggling with, any questions that don't really make sense. What's really amazing about the live aspect of that is that you're teaching each other. So a lot of this is an opportunity to almost speak out loud and work through any questions you have out loud amongst yourselves, and also support each other. And then it's led by obviously a staff member who can sort of guide that. So the lectures are pre-recorded, but the classes are very interactive.
Thanks, Beck. Thanks for allowing me to put you on the spot. I thought it'd be helpful for them to get a student's perspective of what being in class is like, so I really appreciate that. All right, we have a question from Diana. Hi, I'm Diana. Hi, Diana. Is completing the intern year of our previous degree necessary, or is having just the degree sufficient for application? Thank you. Shanda, what would you say to this?
Yeah.
Guru of all degrees.
As long as you have been awarded the bachelor degree, then you can apply to us. The internship or honours year isn't necessary, but if you can't get the degree without it, then you absolutely need to do it. But as long as you've been awarded a bachelor's degree, you can apply to us.
Thanks, Shanda. All right, Anonymous says, where are clinicals? I'm located in Melbourne, Australia. Will they be here, or do we just get placed where there is availability Australia-wide? So clinicals depend on where you happen to reside. So if you are in Samoa, you do your clinicals at our home hospital, TTM in Apia. If you are in the US or Canada, you do your clinical rotations in the United States, and there are a few different sites for that. If you're in Australia, the way that it works is that we have clinical coordinators for each state that secure rotations in various hospitals throughout that state. So if you are in Queensland or New South Wales or South Australia, there are different placements available. So I can't say at this point, like, you'll definitely be rotating at this particular hospital, as the sites that are available do change over time, and the rotations that are available at sites do change over time. Also, in all of the countries that we serve, our deans do work with local hospitals and local sites. So if a student has a connection at a particular hospital, maybe they are a nurse and that was their home hospital, and they'd like to do their clinical rotations there, we do have our deans working with individual sites and local hospitals for rotations on an individual basis. Can I guarantee before you start your degree that you'll definitely be able to do your clinical rotations at that hospital? Absolutely not. But what I can tell you is that because we are a smaller size and work on supporting students on an individualized basis, that we do provide this service where our deans will work with individual sites to secure rotations. So that's my long-winded answer to your straightforward question. Okay, we've just got 1 minute left, so I'm just going to share maybe one or two more things from the chat window. Kelly said, love that you have shared this. Mom guilt is real sometimes. I know many of us can relate to that, so thanks for sharing that, Kelly. And then Shaw wanted us to know, thank you for the opportunity. It was very good to hear you all and know as useful info. How often do we need to visit Samoa during the program? Moretta, would you like to take this question about their rotation in Samoa? How often do they need to go to Samoa?
Thank you, Dr. M. It's a requirement for students to travel to Samoa to do a 4-week elective rotation. But the opportunity has opened up for them to do more than 4 weeks now. And recently, we've also opened up the opportunity for some students to come and do their core rotations in Samoa. And core rotations, usually we're looking at 8 weeks for a particular core rotation. In the past, we've only allowed students to come and do a 4-week elective, but not the cores. But now we've opened up the opportunity for them to come and do their core rotations. So depending on the core rotation that you're doing, it could range from 10 weeks for internal medicine, 10 weeks for surgery, and then 8 weeks for all the other cores. And then you're looking at 4 weeks of one elective rotation here in Samoa.
Thanks so much, Moretta. So we're at the end of our hour together. I want to thank each and every one of my panelists today and all attendees for joining us. And I'm just going to turn it over to Shanda to tell you a little bit about next steps for application.
So the application deadlines, as we talked about, for January 2025, you need to get your full complete application submitted online by the 1st of September. It's really important. If you miss that, you might miss out on that intake altogether. And for July, it is the 1st of March. So if you're thinking about applying for July 2025, you need to submit your application by the 1st of March. If you are accepted after you go through that long process of all the interviews, etc., if you are accepted, you need to submit all of your post-acceptance documents to us by the 1st of December for January, 1st of June for July. And you'll find out all of that later on in the process. And orientation for January 2025 starts on the 6th or 7th of January and the 10th or 11th of January during that week. And you'll get used to those dates as well when you start with us.
Thanks, Shanda. I hope to see many of you at OWeek in January. Thank you so much for your time and attention today. I know we didn't get to all of the questions in our Q&A. We will take those back to the admissions team and ensure you get an individualized answer. Thanks again, everyone. I hope you'll consider joining us in the OUM community and looking forward to seeing you all again soon at our next webinar. Thanks and bye for now. Thanks again, panelists.
Thank you.